Right now, I don't even know where to start. There's so much news, there's so much happening. I went to bed early last night. I was tied up, and I wake up to all hell is kind of broken loose, but in a good way, in our favor. So we're gonna do the I'm Rico, right wing Rico. This is the America First daily news. So we're gonna just do it. I'll try to keep it short as I can. I just want actually we're gonna go over some international things. Trump is surprising us with this whole Gaza situation. It doesn't really make sense to America First people why we're meddling over in the whole area. It seems like Trump wants to take the Gaza Strip to stop Israel from bombing them continuously. I don't necessarily understand the strategy, but I mean, I guess if the goal is to stop Israel from attacking them, if the U.S. takes it over, then Israel won't attack. But that so we couldn't negotiate anything better. We couldn't work out something with Israel for them to stop bombing it. We literally have to take it over to stop them. That doesn't really sound like too much of a good ally, in my opinion. But let's go to this first story that I wanted to talk about. Alinsky, this guy has been on a tangent. He is on a roll. But look at what he says about the United States when he does a breakdown of the money. Because don't forget, 10% goes to the big guy. So that's, what, 30 billion right there gone immediately. But let's let him do his math breakdown on Piers Morgan actually.
They increased the production in the US. This helped us, but all this money stayed in the United States of America, in the specific companies and the specific plant, making profit for specific people for the salaries of solely US citizens that are working in those companies. That is a good decision, but this money was not directed to Ukraine. I simply say that the numbers are numbers. One cannot say we've given hundreds of billions to Ukraine. Where is the money? Because when you say that we've given billions to Ukraine, where is the money? You can find that the majority of the money is in your country. And this is what happened in reality. Although, for sure, without the US and European help, we would not withstand. And that's a fact, and we are very grateful for that. But I am for, when we
You don't sound very grateful.
speak about numbers, I'm for speaking about precise numbers.
One implication from the Associated Press interview you gave was that a lot of money had just disappeared, had gone missing. Is that what you meant to say, or do you want to clarify that?
This money wasn't in Ukraine. Ukraine had 46 out of 77 billion that came with arms, 31.5 came to our budget aid, undoubtedly on the for example on training training to Ukrainian troops by NATO, US countries. As I'm aware, this training sum was in this 46 billion. So
Okay, if we're a country that's known for paying 15,000 for a toilet seat, obviously numbers and everything are going to be inflated. What Alinsky is describing is basically that the US put him in a really bad 360 record label deal. He basically just got signed to death row. And now he's saying, wait a minute, you said you gave me all this money, but really you charged us for training. You charged us for everything. And now you're saying you want your money back, because that's what Trump is now demanding, that we get rare earth minerals from their property, since we cannot get our money back that we've given them. And he is upset about it, saying that you never gave us any money and never reached us. But don't forget, we were basically paying the entire government of the Ukraine for the past several years. We pay all of their pensions. We basically keep them afloat just so that they can be a punching bag for the Russians, because we want to see how hard the Russians can hit. He basically just got signed to a really bad record deal. That's the best way to describe this, because he's saying, well, you guys charged us 46 billion for training. Okay, for us to train 500,000 men, basically just so that they can go get deleted, I mean, it's kind of a waste of money for you, but for us, we got the money that we gave you back. we're basically funding ourselves. You know, it's just like when you get into a record deal, they give you $100,000, they give you $1 million, but they're charging you for transportation, accounting, food, liquor, hotels. You know, when you go on shows and all the people that work and all this money you think that you're making, well, then when you know it comes time, the record label calls you in there, and you're like, wait a minute, how the hell I only got 5,000 left? And they're like, well, you ran up this tab. That's where Alinsky's at right now. The tab ran up more than he thought that he thought it was going to be. He thought he was going to get free money. Don't get me wrong, he laundered a lot of it off. His wife is out buying expensive cars and villas and businesses in Europe, and everyone, but he's going to be the one ultimately stuck holding the bag. The other oligarchs in the Ukraine, you don't know their names. They took their cuts. The people that work in the military took their cuts. Don't forget, they're literally conscripting children off of the streets and throwing them in vans, and then they'll take all of your property and then they'll just keep it. There was a huge scandal with military recruiters in the Ukraine that were basically just robbing all the men that they could find and then sending them to the front lines and just taking all their property and their money. And they were siphoning the money that they're paid, because of course they're paid the troops that go to fight. But because these are basically dead men walking, they were just taking the money that they were being paid and pretending these troops were still alive, and they already had been deleted by the Russians for months, but they were still receiving pay into the pockets of these recruiters. Many of them have already fled the country now. It was a big money grab. But, you know, the way Alinsky is describing it is basically the U.S. gave him a bad deal, but you're a corrupt country. You're a money laundering base for any corrupt regime. The Bidens were there. You jumped in bed with them. You could not play victim right now at all. It's just funny. He said it was 360 deal. You know, Alinsky, how do you say that in Ukrainian? Welcome to death row. Because, buddy, you are definitely on death row. You are Tupac himself right now. So, you know, we did a live yesterday going over to USAID, and it's crazy. You have these Democrats that are standing in front of the building, but they have no power. They have no guns. They can't do a damn thing. You know, we used to play fair in this country. The last 4 years showed us that you don't have to play fair with anybody. They treated us like trash. They lied about Trump. They made up all these fake charges. They locked people in prison for years for trespassing in a public building. And now you think that we are not going to turn around and do the same thing to you? You're a psycho if you think that we're going to let that go. You taught us how to treat you. Keep that in mind going forward when you watch how things play out. These are the Democrats crying this morning about not having access to the USAID building, which, okay, let's look it up. What does USAID stand for? Because it doesn't actually provide aid. It's the U.S. Agency for International Development. It's not U.S. giving financial aid to foreign countries and starving kids in Africa and hungry infants in India. That's not what USAID is for. A regular person on the street would not have any idea what USAID means. You would think it did financial aid for different countries. You're wrong. So why are all these Democrats out here defending something that none of their constituents even understand or know what it does? Like, why are you here? What do you care if we dismantle USAID? Obviously, these people were getting kickbacks and getting money from this that no one was supposed to know about. This is where the corruption and the money laundering comes into play, and this is why it must be shut down.
Very busy currently, and not able to take the meeting currently. They advise that they will be in contact shortly, and then best contact the Department of State this time. Who is they? The front office of the administration. So could I just ask, are you with that? Thank you. Is are the people here in this? We have 8 employees currently.
Doge is basically doing audits. Why don't you want to be audited? What are you afraid that's going to happen? What are we going to find when we audit the USAID. What are we going to find when we eventually audit the IRS? You know that's on the menu, right? That's next to be destroyed because it really is unconstitutional in the first place, especially when we can make money off of tariffs. We don't need to tax and rob the American people. I mean, how many years do people have to tell you that taxation is theft before you finally understand that that's in the best interest of you to be on this Trump train as far as dismantling these organizations? But because you're in a cult, you will vote and be against your own personal interests because you're a follower and someone else told you to.
So I don't know specific who Doge is or any of that. I just know the team employees are here. Although, as you are all aware, it's in the press, everybody's been asked to tell workers, select people here to provide services for the agency. So the rest of them will tell.
Are you a career?
Well,
Yeah.
so there's no opportunity. No, unfortunately, I don't.
No, you cannot come into the building. No, you cannot stand over their shoulders while you're being audited. No, you don't have any say so. And if you feel any type of way about it, grab a weapon and come force your way in. Come take it back. This is not 8 years ago when we learned that being nice and playing fair, it gets you nowhere. You know, we have a country to save, a country that we live in and we have children in. These Democrats, they don't have children and families. They don't care about tomorrow. They care about today and they care about power, but they're not getting the power back. That's over. I didn't know Obama's mother was also a part of USAID. And, but now it makes sense. You know, it's a big club and we're not in it. Smith. I don't know if you guys seen this sellout grifter. You know, people thought that he was pro-Trump and he was coming around to the conservative America First side because he was basically saying how embarrassed he was of being a Democrat or the Democrats. But it didn't take soon before long before that black inferiority complex kicks in. The one that they confuse with white supremacy. There's no white supremacy. There's actually just a black inferiority complex, which is why the only people that ever talk about white supremacy are the American communist Marxist blacks, And it's because they spent their entire lives and their parents' entire lives and their grandparents' entire lives envying white people and being jealous of the white family. So that eventually leads to anger. It's kind of like how a super fan of you becomes a fanatic and wants to wear your skin and, you know, and kidnap you and kill you because they love you so much. That's the black community. That's how much they love white people, is that they hate them. He says that this is all Trump ending DEI is really you saying you want white dominance. So you mean to tell me out of all the other traits that these men that are that they're putting in positions now, all their skills and qualifications, and all you can say is that it's because of white dominance. Why do you feel like these white men are dominating you? It's beyond gay to feel like a man is oppressing you or you're being attacked racially and you're being dominated. It's just more black delusion, homoerotic nonsense. And you just see so much of it. How can a grown adult man tell you that another man is oppressing him? All I hear is just really rough anal sex. I don't hear anything else when I see men like Stephen A. Smith. And then you got to think about it. These white men who they think are so dominant over them, they really just fetishize over them. It's really just say, yeah, they're envious and they're jealous, but it's like a weird black gay thing too. But listen to him. Look how pathetic he sounds with his argument on why Trump is ending DEI and bringing back meritocracy. Listen to this.
Because when you handle it the way that the Trump administration is handling it, we want the most qualified, we want the smartest, we want this, we want that.
What the hell is wrong with wanting the most qualified and the smartest? Because you're an entitled, spoiled black person, You never felt like you needed to compete. You wanted to be given special treatment because of your disability, and the disability that you claim is being born black. That if you've ever met a black person, they feel that being born black is an automatic disability and they should get a check every month from the government. And that's why they have no problem getting a check every month from the government, because they feel being born black was a disability. You know, you gotta read between the lines on what someone like him is saying, because the rest of them echo this as well. And this is a huge problem in the Republic. We have a huge black problem in the Republic.
What you're really saying is we want white dominance again.
Okay. How the hell do you get we want white dominance from we want the best and the smartest and the most what you're admitting, Stephen A. Smith, is that people that look like you are not the smartest, they're not the most qualified, they're not it's literally it's hilarious. It's just hard to explain. Let's bring it back.
We want the most qualified, we want the smartest, we want this, we want that. What you're really saying is we want white dominance again.
Okay. Last time I checked, we're all speaking English. Are you using a separate translator, Stephen A. Smith? How the hell did you translate we want the best and the smartest and the most qualified to white dominance? There was nothing race oriented or description of your skin color oriented in any of the things Trump said. How does it translate? But listen, this is a man with a lot of issues, and they platform people like this because they radicalize others with a victimhood mentality, hoping that eventually in the future they are going to help overthrow a government or destroy something on their behalf. I mean, we saw what happened in 2020. You know, these people can be weaponized. I don't have to tell you, but let's listen to him explain himself. You know, we have 59 seconds of this gerbil nonsense of, again, his black inferiority complex, but just listen to what he says, and then keep in mind there's a black inferiority complex here. There's nothing to do with white supremacy. Watch.
That's what you're really saying. You want white dominance. Mm-hmm. Because if you're pointing to DEI, and that's usually pointed towards quote unquote unqualified minorities, because you're always using the word qualified.
Well, actually, DEI was targeted towards the gays. And they specifically ask for the most mentally ill and mentally challenged people. It doesn't get much more mentally challenged than a man who thinks that he's a woman. So these are actually DEIs for gays. It wasn't necessarily for blacks, but for an American black person, everything's about them. Nothing's about you. There's no one else here. It's just black and whites. There's no Latinos like myself. There's no Pacific Islanders. There's no Asians. Nobody exists. It's just a black and white world. So keep that in mind as well. Listen to who's saying this. And you're going to notice a pattern, because everyone like Stephen A. Smith says this.
Everybody that got a position through DEI is not qualified. We know what you're implying.
That's literally the definition of the point of DEI, is putting somebody in position who is not qualified, but you need to meet a racial quota to satisfy ESG requirements to receive funding from some of these big banks and these other institutions top down from the World Economic Forum. DEI comes from ESG. That's literally a requirement. So you're putting somebody in a position that they didn't qualify for, but you have a diversity, equity, and inclusion quota that you meet. That's literally meaning the person didn't qualify, Stephen A. Smith.
You know what you're insinuating.
Really, do you?
Folks in administration, Pete said, oh my God, the nerve of him to just join into the fray and give his quote about making sure qualified people have these jobs. You're the defense secretary.
Well, if you've ever driven through the hood or through some of their neighborhoods where they live, you can understand now why they look so degraded. They don't believe in quality. They don't believe in this is Like you can say so much if you just break down what he's saying.
Exactly. Oh my God. The nerve of him to just join into the fray and give his quote about making sure qualified people have these jobs. You're the defense secretary.
What the hell does that have to do with anything? He works for the American government. He lives in this country. He's actually now he is the head of what is it? Homeland? No, he's the national defense secretary. These people don't understand. We're all working together because we live in this country that we love. We're here not for money like them. We're here because we want to make this country great. We don't care about the money part. We care about the future. He's focused on the money. So for him, for Pete Hegseth to say anything that has nothing to do with his job and his paycheck, you're not supposed to look at the big picture because he doesn't. He just cares about himself and his cult. He doesn't care about the future. He doesn't care about tomorrow. Why the hell would you expect somebody like Pete Hegseth to not have an opinion about what's best for a country? That's why they're so confused about Doge. Oh, you're auditing, they're auditing and they're doing this and they're not in the Constitution. Yeah, neither is the FBI or the ATF. But yet we have those institutions. You don't have to be an official organization from the government to want to make sure that you're doing the best thing for our government and for our people. Somebody like Stephen A. Smith can never grasp that.
Whose only job prior to this was as a weekend host on Fox News.
That was not his prior job. He was actually a decorated soldier who risked his life for our country so that you could sit here ungrateful and spoiled and protected. You never had to risk a hair on that receding ass hairline to do a damn thing for this country. And you want to sit here and downplay the contributions of a man who put his life on the line for the country. The black inferiority complex. I mean, this video, see, look, just follow this video. This is on the Safe and Effective podcast on Twitter. Because right now we're just going through Twitter X. We're just scrolling. That's how much stuff is going on. We're going to hit the Instagram right after this. But there's so much happening in such a short period of time. Oh, yeah, I remember this. Men in 1944 facing almost certain death, and then men in 2020 facing a 99.996 survival rate. And I was just telling people that I still have pictures of them wearing a mask like little bitches. I do. I still keep those pictures, and I laugh at them because I remember I was one of the only people, my cousin and I, who wouldn't wear the mask. And we would get into it at places. We would get kicked out of clubs and bars, and we just ended up renting out a club and having like secret parties in there just so that nobody would have to wear masks or sit down at their tables and you can like be a normal person. That's how bad things were in 2020 and how freaking ridiculous it was. Hilarious. But if, instead of arguing or fighting, you just complied, and that just defeats the whole purpose of being an American. The best part about being an American is you can just tell somebody to go F themselves and go to F to hell. And if you want to engage in mutual combat, that is also an option as well. I love being an American. So another thing that's happening is Trump is saying that he's actually offering the entire CIA the option to take a buyout and quit. They're offering that to the entire CIA staff after just a few days of investigating the USAID. They found something. But if you think about it, why did they want to wipe out JFK? JFK one time said that he wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scattered into the wind. That's a very extreme statement. What did JFK know? What did he discover about the CIA to say that he wanted to obliterate them? And then a short time later, he was assassinated. A beloved president, a beloved person, and now his great nephew, RFK Jr., is actually in politics in our government, in the Trump administration. And it seems like his wishes will come true. The CIA will be splintered into 1,000 pieces. If you ask anybody It's the CIA that that's actually been managing our efforts for the unnecessary war in the Ukraine, provoking Russia. It was the CIA that backed the coup against Yanukovych, the elected president of the Ukraine in 2014. And it was the CIA that's actually been directing all the attacks with the Azovs. So that's crazy. The CIA is wrapped up with the Nazis in the Ukraine, with all the corruption, and actually actually provoked the Russians into this invasion. They should be splintered. Really, no one can actually tell you what benefits or what good the CIA actually does. They're not the FBI. So what are they doing? And it seems like they're just really going around the world and just causing havoc, assassinating people, and just basically doing the bidding of private organizations and private individuals, nothing to do with the country's best interests or protecting our nation's bottom line. So it seems like JFK will be avenged, and he will get his wish. Okay, there's something new that popped up on the Doge investigation, and Musk said that it's going to be a big one. But he's saying it's going to be in the next 48 hours. They're going to release this information, and basically he has an NGO fraud investigator working with him.
Trying to tear down our country, and one of them, as we give an example, is the Chinese Progressive Association that has shown it's out of Oakland, California. The FBI has taken them as a bad actor, and they are either giving or receiving federal government money, federal grants, and then it goes from one organization to another. And people across the United States, citizen journalists, have exposed this. Rand Paul, the U.S. senators, exposed this, but certainly not enough.
And so on screen is just this group funding and the big banks and big tech above them and government giving them just billions. This is just one of their front groups or one of their conduits they use. Let me just briefly go back to here. Let's remember, meanwhile, Loris Lerner under Obama, they admitted, yeah, we targeted tens of thousands of churches, the conservative pro-gun groups, anti-abortion groups, taking away their tax exemption, auditing them, putting them in prison. So while you have a war on legitimate, open, Christian, conservative, nationalist groups, then they've got just green light over here, USAID, 93% of the money going to Democrats. I mean, it's just, this is their fifth column. This is their shadow government. This is striking at the heart. Please continue.
And the Chinese Progressive Group is in the 55,000, along with USAID. And let me highlight a few USAID. The USAID has been funding, which is our tax dollars from government grants and loans, Project Predict, which is the creation of COVID. There's NGOs such as the Catholic Charity Scam and the Lutherans and the Jewish Family Services, $300 million a month to facilitate illegal immigration. USAID is funding the BBC. It came out this morning. They are funding the piggy bank. They're larger than the CIA by a multiple.
By the way, stop the president stuff. We're going to have you on for 10 hours soon. We'll do a 2-hour commercial free. I didn't even know that yet, but that goes figure. The government funded, they have to pay a license to have a TV in the UK. Almost no one watches it. It's literally run by pedophiles that's come out. And they are getting taxpayer money from the American people. Wow, so Americans are paying a BBC tax as well. Holy Toledo.
And they're paying, and the USAID and through NGOs, paying Reuters to London to do hit pieces on conservatives across the United States.
To target Musk, which again, that's really MI6. Incredible.
And USAID is the one who funded the toppling of the overthrow of Ukrainian government in the Orange Revolution in 2014, where Victoria Nuland is the one who orchestrated that. And she needs to be criminally.
I was just talking about that. If you guys were listening, I was just mentioning this.
Prosecuted for that. You know, she's the one who started, and her minions started the Ukraine war. It wasn't Putin. We're the ones who are putting biolabs and other bad things in Ukraine.
Newland and all of them have bragged they started it. George Soros went on CNN and said, I'm behind it. I did it through USA. They're very proud about
it. And the USA is the one funding and paying poppy farmers in Afghanistan to this day. Maybe it stopped yesterday thanks to Elon Musk. But they were paying poppy farmers to grow the poppies for heroin, and then to ship it across to different countries. and they're paying for child trafficking, as I said. And Tom Holman of ICE was on, where there's 500,000 now kids, not 200,000 or 300,000, which is bad enough. 500,000 illegally trafficked kids, and the U.S. government, through the NGO USAID, is paying for that. It's outrageous. Now it's come out. There's a partnership with USAID directly under contract with Mexican drug cartels. This is outrageous, and shame on all the congressmen and senators, where there's what 635 of them, maybe 2 or 3, like Rand Paul and a few others. Maybe 2 or 3 out of the 635 have ever brought this to light. And where are all the other ones? Where are the 633 that have not spoken up and probably have their fingers in the pockets of these NGOs getting money?
And this is why I love Alex Jones. I love his interviews. An amazing man, a hero, a patriot. And in my opinion, Alex Jones saved the world. And I can explain that whole my stance on that, but amazing work. All this was found out by just doing an audit for the past 3 days of USAID. We're barely 3 weeks into the Trump administration, and everything's coming to light. I mean, I'm so sold. We're so back. It's amazing. Look, I'm gonna take a short breakfast break, walk my dogs, and then we'll be back on, and then we'll go through some more of these top stories. Definitely want to talk about this trans weirdo now that they're selling guns to, because these are now the new terrorists. So anyway, it's a word from our sponsor, and then we'll be back shortly. Thank you. And oh yeah, like and subscribe, share this video, and remember, America first. Thank you.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.